Welcome to Digital Marketing ROI, the podcast that connects marketing to your business's revenue and covers everything you need to know to stay up to date in this crazy digital marketing world.
Welcome to Digital Marketing ROI. I'm your host, Shannon Allen. I'm joined by Krystal Vivian, my favorite host. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Shannon. How are you?
I'm good. Gosh, it's hard to believe. Like, Christmas is right around the corner, isn't it?
Yeah. Really hard to believe, but I feel like it's been a really productive month. I'm actually not so worried going into the holidays, at least from a work perspective.
Right.
Personally, I've got like 17 Christmases to attend, so, you know, that's fine.
Well, it's funny because I was on a call back in early November on a Zoom call, and two of my campaign managers already had trees up, and one of them, Katie, was like, oh, yeah, this is my third tree. And I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah, I can't do that.
It's way too early.
Yeah, no.
Well, we had our last episode on our podcast that we talked about the election is over. Regardless of who you wanted to win, things are changing. We keep moving, right?
Yep.
You just keep moving along. I'm really excited about 2025. I really am.
Yeah, I am too. I have a lot of energy.
I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of positivity. I feel like our clients are starting to feel that. I guess the best word for 2024 could have been flat.
Yes.
2024 was flat.
Yes.
For a lot of what we do, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree.
But we've seen some excitement going. And for today's episode, we've already done an episode on this. I thought this would be a little bit more, just a part two of this conversation. We're going to talk about it a lot, which is AI, right?
Yes.
Artificial intelligence. I talked about this on the last podcast, which is every year I ask Paul, who is our director of our creative team. He's so talented. Every year I like to do something different for the Christmas card. And this year I was like, could you do an AI one where it's an AI version? So he was working on it, and wait till everybody sees it. They'll be very impressed with it.
Oh my gosh.
So today I thought we'd talk about AI, but I'm going to throw it to you because when we were coming up with the kind of our questions and our topics, I was like, yeah, I thought we could just wing it because there's so much we could talk about. And what did you suggest?
I said, why don't we put what we want to talk about into Claude and see what AI generates for an outline for the episode?
Absolutely. I love that. Now, I just want to tell everybody that I have helped form a committee that Krystal is on with me for our entire company, both on the radio side and the digital side, that is our AI committee. Because for each department, I just think we need to focus on what we're doing. And I will be honest, when we started this back towards the end of the summer, everybody would start talking about Claude. And I was like, what's this Claude you speak of? Because I was a Chat GPT girl.
Yeah.
So explain to our listeners.
We converted you.
Well, you did convert me, and explain Claude to our listeners.
So Chat GPT, I think, is what everybody thinks of when they think of AI. It's a large language model tool. It can be used to analyze and generate text-based things. It can analyze data, things like that. Claude is the same kind of tool, but it's from a different company. OpenAI runs ChatGPT, Anthropic runs Claude. Yeah. Very similar, but the output is a lot more conversational and a lot more natural to how we speak. I think that they've done a good job of training that tool or inputting that tool to talk a little bit more like a human. It's all about what you put into it, right? It is all about the prompt that you give AI. And so the more that you give, the better output that you get. But I put the same input into both ChatGPT and to Claude, and 9 times out of 10, personally, I like what comes out of Claude better because it's more conversational.
And you kind of converted me on that. I feel the same way as I was using ChatGPT, and once I started using Claude, I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I kind of get it. Well, I mean, they're both good.
And as you are using ChatGPT a lot, I don't know about you, but I have noticed, I can tell when other brands are using ChatGPT to write their social media captions.
Yeah,
yeah, I see that. Yeah. I know those emojis are very well placed.
Yes.
And that is the exact tone that ChatGPT writes in 100% of the time.
So tell our listeners, what did you put into Claude for this topic of this podcast? What did you put in?
So I am a marketing director for a digital marketing agency. I host a podcast with our chief revenue officer where we talk about all things digital marketing connected to ROI for businesses. Our next episode is about artificial intelligence and how businesses can and should be using artificial intelligence in marketing. We also want to talk about how we use it across all of our departments, sales, campaign, and content marketing / social media. I want you to ask me questions to clarify your response, and then I want you to create an outline for our episode of what we should be talking about. And then I also included some of the things that I wanted to talk about, like the risks of using AI for businesses, again, how we're using it in our departments, and then also how the new administration in 2025 with Trump being reelected, how that is going to impact in 2025. And it asked me a couple of questions about the format of our podcast and if we were going to have guest speakers. It asked me a couple of like really good questions. And I always ask, it's one thing that I've learned to do. I always tell Claude, or even I do use ChatGPT sometimes too. I always say, ask me clarifying questions to help you get better information.
Which I think Claude does a really good job of.
Claude does a really good job of. So it asked me 4 questions, and then I answered those questions, and then it came up with this great outline.
This was the first time I was looking at it. I mean, it gave introduction. It gave risks of using AI for marketing content.
Yep.
It gave practical applications of AI across marketing departments.
Yep.
Number 4 was potential impact of President Trump's reelection on AI regulation. And number 5, conclusion, right? I love this. I mean, this is how it makes your life easier. I can honestly tell you, I've been writing questions from day one we started this, right? So June of 2023.
Yep.
And I've never used it. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to, because a lot of times I know what I'm going to ask, and you and I work very good on that. But I love this.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have time. I got busy, and I was like, oh, gosh.
It's really helpful. And I think that we can wing it. And I think that honestly, even if we had winged it, this is kind of the same flow of the conversation that we would have anyway.
It would.
But it's just nice to have.
In every report we do, in every presentation we do, I have an agenda or a table of contents. Sometimes I delete it, but it's how I put things in order, and I think, to tell my story.
It's a roadmap.
Yeah, it's my roadmap. And that's what we're doing on a podcast. We're telling a story. We're taking it from one question, answering it to the next question, to the next, and then tying it all up with a bow at the end, right?
Yes. And so that's what we're doing.
Right.
And I love what it came up with. So let's go ahead and dive in. We've passed our introduction now.
We did. Yes.
So let's talk about some of the risks of using AI for marketing content. And I want to ask you, what do you see as the top risk for businesses who want to use AI for their business to help them save time? What do they need to be keeping in mind? And you attended a conference earlier this year. Yeah. It was a Burrell conference talking about AI, and that's why we started this committee. So what do you think is the biggest risk for businesses?
So I recently had a meeting with our executive team. I'm helping write an AI policy, which I do recommend that all businesses have an AI policy. This is for your employees. So if you're a bigger, larger company, you want to have control over that. And here's why. And we're different than a lot of businesses with digital marketing, with what your team does specifically.
Yes.
You are all journalists, right? You're the last person that's going to be like, I don't need AI. I'm a writer. I'm the editor, right? But what we're finding is anything that's published, right? Well, that's your content. From our radio side, it's anything that's going over the airways, right? Mm-hmm. Anything that is going out on social media for the clients that we write for. We have to have policies in place, and one of those policies is you cannot use a free version. There's too many copyright issues. There's too many infringement issues. You need to pay for what you're using when it comes to AI.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a risk factor right off the bat with businesses, is make sure to know when you can use free. Now, my sales rep that's trying to write a valid business reason to an email to try to get a client to answer them, use your free stuff all day long.
Using it for brainstorming.
Yes.
So I think that's really big. Using it to help you along in your process. But what's really dangerous is, telling ChatGPT or Claude, write me 50 social media captions for my business. Here's everything you need to know about my business. Write me 50 social media captions, and then copying and pasting that and publishing those as is without even reading them or making any change. Or even if you read them, without making any changes at all, or going to a image generator and saying, generate this image. I want to use this, or create a logo for my business, and then using that.
Yes.
As is.
That's a
without
great example
paying for
that it has to be a paid subscription. Like we use Adobe, the paid version of it, for all of our imaging that we use in our company. And we're doing that because our clients are trusting that we're not infringing on any copyright issues.
Yes.
Right? We're paying for it.
Yes.
And we pay well.
It's expensive.
So yeah, I think from that standpoint, any of these risks, it's anything that is going over the air for us. For you, it's content writing. For businesses to think about that. What is going on your own social media? And you're right. I can start to tell. My reps think they're so smart when they're coming up with ideas for their clients and they're acting like I don't know that they just use ChatGPT. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But just don't turn that over to your client for strategy ideas. You need to then really go back through it and fine tune it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's giving you your template, just like this outline.
It helps you in the brainstorming process. And I think that it's a really powerful brainstorming tool. And I'll talk more later about how my team uses it for that. But it is really helpful in that you just don't want to go with the output, especially for the copyright. But it's also because of how consumers view it.
Yes.
So right now, consumers can't always tell what is produced by AI. But for example, when we're publishing a boosted post or boosting a post or an ad campaign on Meta, on Facebook or Instagram, we have to clarify or say this was generated with AI. And even if you're publishing a regular post now, they've just recently added this within the last few weeks, is if you're posting a picture on Instagram or a reel or a post on Facebook, there's a toggle that Meta wants you to say this was generated with AI.
Okay.
And if you don't toggle that and your post was generated with AI and their AI will figure that out, you're gonna get dinged.
Yeah.
You're gonna get deprioritized in the platform and potentially banned because it's a violation of their terms and services.
That is something when it comes to marketing content that most of our listeners probably don't have any idea on.
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's interesting.
No. That kind of leads into my next question for you with this is, what about brand trust? How do you think about using AI when it comes to having our brands be trustworthy with their audience?
That's a great question. I truly believe when it comes to take AI out of it, right? We've said this, I'm putting a proposal together, right? And I'm spelling out what our costs are and what our pricing is and what we do. And one of the reasons that is really important to me is we spell everything out as a line item because transparency is so important for brands. Okay. Yes. I recently was looking over a competitor's there was a local TV station that had put together a package that basically just bundled it all together and wasn't transparent. So the client really didn't know what they were getting. Mm-hmm. And I asked more questions. And I said, well, how much is this? And like, how many impressions here? One thing with any brand that you need to do is be transparent. So whether that's in a proposal that I'm doing or it's as a business about your brand, I think it's really important that we do exactly what you're talking about is we have to be honest so that our consumers understand that we're using this as a tool to aid us. But you and I always said there will always be a human element of AI. Yes. If there's not, then there's probably a problem with that.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, even when you go into the local grocery store that it has all the checkouts you can do yourself now, there's still a human standing there to help you, yes. Right? I've said we need editors on every piece of AI that we're using. Yes. And I would suggest that to help with your brand and to be transparent, you have to make sure there is a human element attached. Mm-hmm. You know, my daughter's 12 years old writing things and have teachers telling her that you can use AI. These are smart kids. But I said to Ava from day one, you have to put the work in yourself. You can't just spit it out and now you're done.
You want to use it to make yourself smarter, better, faster, stronger, right? Yes. So, for your daughter, I would say write the essay yourself, but then put it into AI, put it into ChatGPT and say,
tell you exactly.
How can I fix the grammar? Tell me how can I fix my ideas? Does this make sense? Or my arguments sound? Use it to make yourself better and to be smarter.
100%. And I think that goes back to how you use it. There's certain things, and I'm going to the next topic here, but this is about practical applications. What we did on the committee is we laid out each department, right? We said, you are in charge of the content department. Paul is in charge of the creative department. Our on-air people are part of the programming. I'm part of the sales. And then I had an administration. For sales and administration, I can tell you right now, there's a lot of things that we can do just to make us more efficient. We are not dealing with the same things that the creative side or the content side like you are dealing with. So as far as, how practical it can be, it can really save you time. Mm-hmm. It's not any different than what we did when I was like, I wrote the outline for our previous podcast that we recorded. I just didn't have time last night when I told you that, and you were able to spit it out. I mean, you took the time to do it.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of practicality that it will help us, our time management. Like time management is such a part of what all departments.
Yes.
So take a look at your department. What do I need? The other part of that I think we can really leverage is one of the things on the outline here talks about leveraging AI for campaign optimization and audience targeting. Here's the good news. Most of the vendors I work with, almost all of them, have incorporated some form of AI into their platforms. And it's fantastic because I think we spoke about this. AI is only going to make targeting better. It's been going on for years. AI has been around for years. That's why Google continues to use it. You know, it's why every campaign that we use when we do a display campaign, there's AI tied into it as AI starts to learn who the user is and the consumer is better. Yep. So the good news is that's an easy application for me because I don't have to overthink it. I just have another tool that's going to make it better. And the targeting is only going to get better with both CTV and display when it comes to branding.
Well, and let's be clear, because that AI is analyzing that data and identifying the right audience members faster, better, stronger, because it's an AI tool. Yep. Yeah. So that saves us time because now we don't have to then analyze that data. And I think that's really important. And anytime that you're working with a vendor that provides that, they've bought and paid for that service, so you're protected.
And they're protected, everything, and privacy, everything. And we really do vet out every partner we work with. One of my favorite things to do with our vendors at the end of the year is what's the forecast for first quarter, second quarter, what's rolling out, what do you have coming? And every single one of them has some form of AI that's only enhancing and getting better. And by the way, to our listeners, if you have an AI policy, it needs to be probably updated probably monthly because if you have a list of what you can use, you need to have that on there.
Yeah.
I'm going to flip it back to you, though. I talked a little bit about the sales process and administration, that it's really the benefit is really about time management. When it comes to, you know, our targeted campaigns, how AI is built in. So what's more of that practical application for your department when it comes to content creation for social posts and blog articles?
It's brainstorming. And brainstorming is a fun process and we love doing it, but it does take a lot of time. We always say, oh, there's no such thing as a bad idea because it could be a launch point for a good idea. Well, especially right now, we're busy hunkering down at the end of the year. We don't always have time to brainstorm with each other. And so we'll use Claude to brainstorm ideas for us. Mm-hmm. And it is all about the input. It's exactly what I did for this. I'm putting in all of this information about a particular client, about who they are, who their target audience is, what products and services they're promoting, what our goal is, what kind of content it is. And I'm asking it to generate 50 to 100 ideas. Because the more that it generates, the more that it helps and the more different things that we get. And then I'm taking that list of ideas and saying, okay, yes, this is a good idea, but I want to tweak it this way. I want this. Yeah, we should do a blog post on that, but it should be worded this way. Or actually, that's a good thought, but it doesn't quite apply, but I can change it this way. And the same thing for social media posts. I'm not using it to write my posts because we're very concerned about we want to write for humans, right? So, and being transparent, having that brand trust, we feel very strongly that we want to write for the audience, but using that to brainstorm. On the other half of it, so I've used it to brainstorm the blog ideas. We spend time researching and writing the blog posts ourselves. We'll put that blog post into Claude or ChatGPT and say, remove any instances of passive voice. Make sure that it's grammatically correct. Am I repeating anything? Anything like that. We've also used tools like Perplexity AI to help us in the research phase, which can just make researching things faster because it'll give us a list.
Yeah, you told me about that. I went and checked it out.
A bibliography.
I mean, I do a ton of research for my training and industry specific. And that's what you guys are doing a lot. And I was like, wow, this is great. This is just saves me a little bit of time.
Yeah, because now we don't have to do 10 different Google Google searches that are slightly different, it helps us generate all of that together. And then we can read all of those articles and then write our blog posts from that, from the research that we've done. The other thing that we use it for is for our clients that are doing blog posts and social media posts together. We will take old blog posts that we wrote 6 months ago, and we will literally put several blog posts into one document, and we'll ask the AI tool, Claude or ChatGPT, to say, identify 50 to 100 social media post ideas based on these blogs. And that's what we would do already. But instead of having to read 6 months worth of blog posts, AI can do it, and that saves us so much time. And so we have all these topic ideas, and it highlights which sections of which blogs they want to use it for, so then we can go back to. So it speeds up our content creation process.
It still comes down to time management.
That's really what it is. Yeah.
I think that's kind of the last of the points on this practical applications. Is the last one asked for what's the benefits or limitations. I think you did a really good job of talking about limitations specifically, but the benefits, no matter what we talk about, it is going to be time management. We're not here to replace people.
No.
We're here to enhance what we do.
Yes, enhance what we do, make it so that I can do more.
Yes.
Make it so that, especially in the creative process as a writer, part of the creative process is just sitting and staring at a blank wall. Right. Well, that's in some ways time wasted. If I can put a lot of my thoughts into a tool that will help me get that process jump started. And we even use it in our meetings sometimes too, our team meetings when we're brainstorming together, because it's an extra person.
It is.
In some ways, it's an extra two people.
Right.
And so it just enhances what we're doing. But at the end of the day, we're writing the blog posts, we're writing the social media captions, we're creating the social media graphics, we're editing the reels, we're making the carousel posts, we're doing all of the work. But it's all that extra stuff that in the creative process that makes it so that from creating a social media content calendar, creating 30 posts could take you a full week.
Yeah.
Now it takes you even less time, and the quality of the content is the same or maybe better. That's wonderful. So I think that using it in that way is really beneficial for us. And I think that the more that businesses can think about ways to enhance what they're currently doing, the better.
Right. I agree.
We talked a little bit about this in our last episode where we were talking about just the overall post-election. But let's specifically talk about AI regulation with the potential impact. President Trump is going to be taking office in 2025. What does that look like for AI policies and regulations?
Okay. So I think I said in the last episode that President Biden's executive order on AI was signed in October of 2023. And President Trump has already stated that he is going to rescind that as soon as he is in office. He believes more in the economics of AI, how the startup companies and what they can do. I think we talked about how some of the tech giants out there that you might have thought were living over here in California and we're going to support, Democrat versus Republican, they were no. We don't want restrictions on this, right?
Yes.
So I think what we predictions are we're going to see right away, President Trump is saying that he wants to get rid of that, which will possibly open things up for AI. I think there probably has to be regulations no matter what. That is 100%. And we'll see. We'll kind of see what that prediction is, if that will happen, if it's as important as it is right off the bat. I'm going to guess lobbyists are going to be right there on his going, you told me, you promised me, and this is what I need. But I think you're going to see it will continue to be a conversation, probably less about the regulations and privacy, but that has to be addressed as well, no matter what, because there can be scary things happening out there with AI if there isn't. I mean, there is regulations in place now, but they need to probably be continually looked at.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens with the new administration. I think with President Trump, he's a big believer in startup companies and these companies that want to do more with AI. And there is an economy issue tied into the AI that I think there is possibilities out there.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's bring it back to ROI then and just wrap up this conversation. As we're heading into 2025, thinking about the ways that we're using AI, the risks, how businesses should be using it, President Trump's reelection, ultimately, we don't know. I think that's part of it is that we don't know what his focus will be 100% or the timeline of anything. Yeah. But for businesses that are planning now, what should they be working on or be thinking about when it comes to AI to prepare for 2025 and then throughout the next year?
So I'm going to break it down into marketing and structure of your business. Okay. So let's talk about structure first. Really, that's your people. That's who's sitting there working, doing your job, whatever your business is. You're a credit union, you are a retail store, you are an auto dealer. When it comes to your structural business, that's going to help with your bottom line. And I think what I saw with a lot of our businesses that I use the word flat. A lot of things were flat in 2024. We want to move that needle. As every company, they don't want flat. We want to grow our operating cash flow. What I would say as far as AI, what one of the best ROIs would be, it's time management. What can you utilize? And I'm not saying run out there and buy all these platforms. I'm saying what can you utilize within your structure, and look at, as we talked about, look at each one of your departments for your business, how that breaks up and how you could be aiding in it instead of just running right out and saying, I got to hire. Yes, I want hiring to happen, but I want hiring to happen for more innovation and less about the manual stuff that could be taken in a different way with the right tools of AI. So I would suggest, to help with your return on investment on structure, really take a hard look at what everybody's using, create that policy, and figure out what your game plan is for the next 12 months. As far as marketing goes, when it comes to AI, I would say is two things. It would be connected TV. And what we talked about originally when we did the podcast about after the election was the commerce media, retail media. Those two items with your own marketing, take a look at where you should be when it comes to, we know AI is going to continue to grow. We'll be better at targeting than ever before because of AI. If you're able to have more one-on-one conversations and less broad conversations, it's going to bring you a better ROI overall. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. Wow.
Well, that was good.
That was great.
I think we'll probably touch on AI. I think each time we do it, maybe we bring a very specific topic. I would love to hear from our listeners on more topics. Like, what topics do you want to hear about?
Yeah.
You know, I could plug it into Claude all day long, but what I want to talk about and what you want to hear. So any of our listeners out there, please reach out to us. Go to our website. You can text us. Anything to tell us what your ideas are.
Yeah. Go to our Facebook page, our LinkedIn
page. What questions you have. So that would be something that I'd really appreciate as we're working on our content calendars for 2025.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I would love that.
Well, this has been great. This is Shannon and Krystal. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and join us for our next episode of Digital Marketing ROI.
You've been listening to Digital Marketing ROI from Federated Digital Solutions. Do you have an idea for a future episode or a burning digital marketing question? Text ROI to 45364 to get a link where you can share your idea. Subscribe to get new episodes every other Thursday, plus Tip Tuesday insights every week.
Podcasts by Federated Media.